Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream. It's Sunday, September 22nd. And today I thought I'd talk a little bit about how to, maybe put it all together. So some ideas on how to approach things. And all right, sounds like we're looking good and sounding good. Well, I don't know about looking good, but sound is coming through okay, what I'm hearing. So, um, all right. So let's think about some ideas. When you're practicing and kind of thinking about tunes. And I think I may talk a little bit about blues progressions and all that. So um, join me and join the chat. I'm keeping an eye on the chat a little bit here. And so let's say we have C minor. So now minor is maybe a little bit elusive, for I think folks improvising, right? So let's say you have a C minor blues. I bring this up because of the latest tune on the channel, Footprints, which kind of steps out a little bit of the kind of some of the traditional harmony of minor blues, but we'll kind of get into that and maybe compare it with some of the basic kind of things. But when you have a chord, try to integrate everything sort of together, and maybe rather than thinking about different elements of music and music theory and improvisation as being sort of like separate, think of them as kind of interconnected, and progressions as being dynamic, and music as being changing. So try not to situate yourself into a solid place. So if you're doing maybe a more basic kind of tune, if you're used to playing a tune that's, let's say in C, we've got so real basic thing, and it all stays in the key of no sharps and no flats. It's, say, for example, and you're accustomed to doing that. Maybe you're soloing and you're playing. And then you're kind of, maybe you have this history. I don't know. I'm not speaking for everybody, but you maybe have this history of thinking like, oh, okay, I've got these 7 notes and they don't really change, and so it sort of gives this illusion that there's sort of this solid collection of notes that are unchanging. So in let's say other progressions, I mean, even outside of jazz, you might take that and play. Where you're borrowing from some maybe closely related keys, So like, let's say I'm on a C chord, and I'm gonna try to draw a little more tension as I go to the 4 chord before, and move it over, right? Or let's say we go to minor. Maybe I'll borrow from harmonic minor for a moment before I go to the 6th chord, right? And then I might do a 5 of, to just delay that 5, just to do a D7. And what does that have but an F sharp in it, right? So borrowing from these closely related keys, I borrowed from key of 1 flat, borrowed from the relative minor, right? I borrowed from the key of 1 sharp with the D7. Okay, so Eric writes in, good to hear from you again. Thanks so much for joining again, Eric. I appreciate it. Okay, so it says, yeah, interesting. When I was playing right before this, I was playing the 5 areas of dominant 7 tonality, then moving in different keys to try to help with the mapping and visualization. Awesome. Wow, what a coincidence. So, yeah, absolutely. So we could take things and borrow from closely related keys. And so we have a situation where we can really think dynamically about chords, right? So as you're practicing, try to think, okay, or this is just kind of suggestion, but try to think about this chord, and then how does it sit inside of whatever note. So if it's the 1 chord, and here's a great exercise for you to try. I believe I got this from watching some Joe Pass videos way back, and maybe my memory's not perfect on it, but some of the idea is take a chord like this, look for the highest note and the lowest note, the root being very important on it. So if you're doing inversion, you might just choose the root note as the lowest note and then highest note up. So you go through and you play that chord, play if it's the 1 chord, you would play a major scale and go up to the highest note in the chord, and just give your ear an opportunity to hear the sounds inside of that as well. So I'm going to get back to blues in minor blues here in a little bit. I thought I mentioned a couple things about the channel. I recently set up these. I've been talking about this for a little while, probably, but I recently set up these little merchandise, or this little merchandise shop, and so I just ordered a sample of the Fret Prince mug. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully, I'll be using that on the channel here. I think it might take a week to get here or something, but hopefully I'll be drinking coffee in a week or so out of the Fret Prince mug. But check that out if you want to support the channel. So at the moment, I'm doing this these efforts on the YouTube channel as a part-time thing, and I aspire to make it, if not a somewhat of a full-time thing, a more of a full-time things. Oh, Eric says the thumbnails are looking nice. All right, I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. So I've been using a service that I did a free trial on, one of these services that gives you some templates and then adjust them a little bit. But also looking at some other channels and some of the cool stuff that they're doing, trying to gain some ideas. So thanks for that feedback on that. So let's talk a little bit about minor. So like I said, minor may feel a little elusive at times for you, or when I explain it to students, it seems to cause a good bit of confusion. Yeah, okay, I like that. Yeah, not over the top, but enough pizzazz. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for, Eric. So awesome. I'm glad that's coming through. Um, so yeah, when you're in minor, think about part of the issue with minor is that if you go through the major scale, right, and you're thinking about this chord, there's no B natural, right, in the major scale system. So if you were, let's say, thinking of key of 3 flats, so you're kind of coloring this in, you're thinking, okay, well, relative minor here. Okay, so all that would make sense, okay. But nothing with the B that would give you the 5 chord, right, to make that really feel like a tonic note, right? Then you might think, okay, well, how about key of 2 flats, right? Right. But still, we got a B flat, right? So, but you have a more stable kind of sixth. So, oftentimes for tonic minor chords, you want to have that major 6 interval above, let's say, the C in this case, right? Yeah. So Eric mentions Kenny Burrell and Grant Green are great for minor. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think about. I did do a Kenny Burrell tune that was a minor and F minor. That was suggested by one of my students online. Trying to think about what that was, but can't remember the name of it right now. But yeah, absolutely. I think it was an F minor. So that's kind of the issue. So a typical, let's say C minor, you're kind of your go-to, might say palette of notes. We would have a root 9, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, and then the root note. But you could also pull from maybe have a B natural in there, but it's going to be real dynamic, like I said. So on the 5 chord, you may pull more from like harmonic minor. And hear how the ear just really wants to hear this note, right? It's really asking for that note when you describe that sound, right? So those are some thoughts on that. So the typical kind of predominant is a flat or a flat 6, dominant 7 with the sharp 11 or 13 or both, going to the 5 chord, which in this case would be G, 7 sharp 5 or flat 13, however you want to think about it. Maybe a sharp 9 as well, right? So that's your kind of typical motion into that. And so kind of keeping with this theme of sort of interrelatedness of things, if you will. So what if we had this chord is predominant kind of chord, right? So let's compare this a little bit to similar section in the blues for the footprints. So I did a little shorts video on this where you might see me play some voicings. So I played these 3-note voicings, I'll show you where those are kind of coming from. So F sharp minor 7, flat 5 to the F9, and then the E7 sharp 5 to the A7 sharp 9. And I just chose this voicing because it just felt like it moved smoothly to the previous voicing. But you might want to describe a different voicing, whatever you like. Yeah. Thank you, Amos, for writing in. Yeah, hit the like button and subscribe. Get more people coming in. Absolutely. I need to get on that right from the beginning. So yeah, I do intend to get a little maybe of an automated like and subscribe here for the live stream and everything like that. Yeah, thanks for your suggestion. Absolutely. So, um, you want to take a little bit of the history, and I'm not a big like history buff or anything like that, but you want to take a little bit of that history of how tunes were written over time and different trends, you might say. So this tune, Footprints, Wayne Shorter, you might say it's sort of, his writing style, you might say, has maybe some less functional sort of chord progressions in them, and from my perception, it just feels like you have more like palettes or some more of that modal influence on a lot of it, where you kind of just visit this thing and your ear experiences this shift of the notes, and that's why I think of it like kind of like a palette, or maybe just like a shift or kind of modal sort of thing. Let me know your thoughts on it. But if you're in C minor, right, and all of a sudden we have this to my ear, and let me know what you think. It sounds like it's brighter there for a moment, and then it kind of progresses from there, right? So here, this is gonna feel kind of like E minor, right? If you had a F sharp minor 7 to a B7, so it kind of has that sort of shift to it. Yeah, Eric says feels compositional almost. And then, right, we have the sharp 9, right? Which, if we compare that to E minor, right? Same note on top, but here we have a major third, so we would call this the sharp 9. So this feels like it's going to D 5 of 5. So this could be going to or pulling from 5 of D in some respect there, right? So as you pull through that segment, those are some things to kind of keep in mind, just sort of like a change of color, a brightening, or something a little bit different. Yeah, it perks up the ear. Absolutely, I agree with that 100%. So and then you get back to this C minor, but it's good to compare, right? To compare progressions and see where things are kind of anchored prior to that, you might say, or just in a more basic sense, So Right. So, maybe a more like kind of basic minor blues, progression wise. Um, you might think of like Equinox by John Coltrane, and just kind of compare. I'm not saying one is better than the other or anything like that, but the Equinox is a little more anchored in that more traditional, um, predominant, right? So the C minor. So take a few examples of um, chord progressions and all that, and see if you can kind of compare. So, all right, everybody. Welcome back. Yeah, anybody who's watching, yeah, please like and subscribe. Do appreciate Amos also suggesting that. Yep, and Eric makes a good point here too. Yeah, so you have functional harmony within maybe a broader sense of non-functional. Yeah, so you've got this, which makes perfect sense in the context of E minor, but in the C minor, it's kind of like, oh, where's that coming from? And how does the ear react to that? Like, yeah, so it's pretty interesting, and I am going to do more Wayne Shorter tunes, and I've got a student, a really great supporter of the channel as well, who's working on Dolphin Dance, and I think that would be a great one to put on the channel, talk about too. So similar kind of concepts, similar maybe period of time that they were written as well. So yeah, Dolphin Dance, it's got a bunch of cool tunes working on. So and here on the channel, I'm working on getting a little bit more of a template going on some of the recording, so I can get things moving a little faster. And I think I may dive a little out of my comfort zone and try to do some more like kind of informal talks about progressions and stuff, which is one thing I like about the live stream, is I can just kind of chat and get feedback on some things. But back to the progression. So C minor, you might think of your kind of go-to area here as having an A natural in it for your choices of tones. You'll notice that in the melody there is an A, right? There's an A natural on the C minor chord progression part, and then we go into the F minor, and we want to again try that whole exercise that I talked a little bit about earlier. Play this, and then you want to think or pull from the key of 3 flats. And thinking in terms of key signatures can really help to maybe free folks up from all of the confusion around modes, which I would suggest that folks think more in terms of chord scales, or how a scale relates to a chord at a given moment in time, if you will, if that makes any sense. Right, so we know we're on the 4 chord, and how are we, coloring the sound, if you will. So we wouldn't want to pull from the key of or the key signature of 2 flats any longer, because we need this A flat, right? And so as you progress, and if you, I know folks are at all different levels, so some folks have all the notes mapped out, some folks may not. So if you don't have all those notes really mapped out all over the neck, make that really just high priority on your list of practice things. All right, so we've got that, and then we go back to the C minor, right? Yeah, and then we're back to, you might think in terms of the key of two flats once again. Yeah. So Eric says, talks about the Dorian sound, and then harmonic minor for the pullback. Yeah. So the five of the minor. So yeah, thanks. I'm glad you're all enjoying this lesson and talk. I'm gonna hang here for about 5 more minutes, everybody. So I'm glad you enjoyed this, and thanks for the feedback on everything. Yeah, an effort to keep it simple. Absolutely. And from my experience, keep in mind the goal at hand. We learn some of these theoretical things, and it kind of requires that, I think, to some extent. But keep in mind, maybe the ultimate goal is to create lines, right? Create melodies that sound cool and appeal to ourselves, and maybe express something, and others will enjoy it too. So yeah, that kind of keeping that goal, maybe in mind there, to play from that. And I think trying to also get, if you're accustomed to playing, and let's say you're getting really good with those chord scales or modes, or whatever you're calling them, see if you can sprinkle in some chromatic tones. Right, so you can find those spaces within the whatever scale. Any of those whole steps, put a tone in between. And that's another kind of concept that can be a little bit hard to, the idea that maybe you can play a major third on a minor, if especially if it's on the end of the beat, right? You can connect, right? And just thinking about what kind of language you're using, or on, yeah, feels in the key. That's why the blues is a great place to start and never get stale. Yeah, absolutely. So practice blues, and so the you don't have to choose B flat, but oftentimes that's where it's played, B flat or F, and get kind of used to you know, the flat 7 and the major 3rd, right? And that sort of color or palette. Yeah, yeah. Feel is the key. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, enclosures. Yeah, I mean, you can, let's see, you're targeting, let's say we're in C minor. You can say you're going for the 5th. Yeah, it's all, you know, kind of, I would say kind of the perception of where things are going, and what the ear hears as something that's being targeted, um, and all that. So uh, chromatics are tough. Yeah. Yeah, they are. So, but you know, kind of getting the ear just used to and prepared for hearing all 12 notes on any given harmony, I think is an important goal. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. I really, really do appreciate um, all the comments and questions. So keep those coming. And if you have any comments or questions on any of them, please leave one in the comment section on any given video. I am really making efforts to keeping a better um, giving a better or making some improvements in the comments and getting back to comments and stuff like that. So, all right, everybody. Well, thanks again, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a great practice session, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.